Chicago PD Season 12 Finale Review. I'm dismayed with how NBC utterly fails Kim Burgess and Adam Ruzek. Warning: this review contains spoilers for Chicago PD's Season 12 finale. Chicago PD Season 12 promised Kim Burgess and Adam Ruzek's wedding, and it delivered on it, just not in the best way possible. It's no secret that One Chicago's police procedural has been struggling with its identity for a couple of years now. Exacerbated by some big departures, including Jessa Lee Soffer, and subsequently, Tracy Spiridakos as Jay Halstead and Haley Upton. Not to mention its storytelling format, Chicago PD has been flailing its storytelling with occasional bouts of great episodes. Admittedly, while I still watch the show, it's difficult not to miss its edgier and more focused iteration. I felt like Chicago PD Season 12 was on the right path back to its old and better version, bringing in Toya Turner's Kiana Cook as the newest permanent member of Hank Voight's intelligence unit. That led to Burgess finally getting promoted, the introduction of a strong villain in Deputy Chief Reed, as well as the beginning of a possible romance between Voight and Nina Chapman. There was also the promise that Burgess and Ruzek would finally get married. Most of these arcs have payoffs in the Chicago PD Season 12 finale, but not everything is done to my satisfaction. Reed is an old-school Chicago PD villain, and I long thought that it was something the show was missing for years. Voight's best professional stories are when he is forced to play politics with higher-ups, whether to protect himself or the team. I wish we could have seen more of Reed and Voight's dynamic moving forward, considering their similarities. However, Season 12's Episode 22, Vows, puts an end to the villain in a totally unpredictable way. Reed is killed, but through Voight's off-screen ministrations. While almost everyone recognizes this, despite not knowing exactly what happened, Chapman is extremely disappointed. With his wife and son gone, intelligence is Voight's family, so he is willing to go to any lengths to make sure that they are okay. I understand why Chapman isn't happy with what Voight did, but it also highlights how she really isn't part of his circle. Chicago PD Season 12 gradually brought them closer, but while she wants more, he's hesitant. Perhaps not because he isn't attracted to her, but because at the end of the day, his number one priority is his team. With his wife and son gone, intelligence is Voight's family, so he is willing to go to any lengths to make sure that they are okay. I'm afraid Chapman doesn't understand that. Voight's actions may have sabotaged his romance chances with Chapman, but it reinforces his love of his team, which I think is more important at this point in the story. So much of his story in the last couple of seasons was focused on his relationship with Halstead and Upton, leaving the rest of intelligence sidelined. Moving forward, I hope this is an indication that Chicago PD Season 13 will have more team-centric storylines instead of picking a character of the week. While Chicago PD delivers a thrilling end to the threat of Reed, it does it at the expense of Burgess and Ruzek's wedding, and this is extremely frustrating. While Chicago Fire arguably has the most popular pairing in Kelly Severide and Stella Kidd, Intelligence's couple happens to be the longest-standing romance in One Chicago. For a decade, we've seen Burgess and Ruzek deal with relationship problems, spend time apart, grow independently, and find their way back to each other. Despite that, Chicago PD cannot even devote a portion of the Season 12 finale to focusing solely on them. Intelligence hasn't had a cause for celebration in years, and the Chicago PD Season 12 finale offers the perfect opportunity for that, but they don't take it. To make things worse, an episode titled Vows doesn't even feature Burgess and Ruzek saying their vows. At least Upton and Halstead got to say theirs during their shotgun courthouse marriage, which ended up in a disaster, so not to give the same courtesy to its long-time and enduring main romance is extremely disappointing. The celebration is even clipped with the last shot of Chapman in tears because of her and Voight's conflict. Intelligence hasn't had a cause for celebration in years. The Chicago PD Season 12 finale offers the perfect opportunity for that, but doesn't take it. Ultimately, I think Chicago PD should have prioritized Burgess and Ruzek over whatever tension is happening between Chapman and Voight. Not only do Marina Squarciati and Patrick Fluger deserve it after being in the show for more than a decade, the procedural also owes it to those who have been emotionally invested in this love story for years. Chicago PD has time to further explore Chapman's disappointment, but it cannot repeat this occasion. Perhaps next time, it can look at Chicago Fire in terms of staging a proper wedding between slow burn storytelling and outright narrative neglect. Unfortunately, NBC's Chicago PD Season 11 finale didn't just cross that line when it came to Kim Burgess and Adam Ruzek, it obliterated it. After over a decade of emotional buildup, trauma bonding, near-death experiences, and a complicated co-parenting journey, one might have expected a payoff worthy of the investment. But instead, viewers were left with a muted, meandering conclusion that felt more like a shrug than a celebration. Let's get one thing out of the way. Marina Squarciati and Patrick John Fluger delivered some of their best work this season. Their chemistry remains the heartbeat of intelligence, a raw and real counterpoint to the procedural chaos that defines most episodes. But even the best actors can't save a storyline that's been stranded in purgatory for too long. This finale should have been a cathartic moment for Burgess fans. Some closure, some clarity. Instead, we got ambiguity wrapped in a thin layer of forced optimism. For most of the season, the writing teased resolution. Burgess and Ruzek moved in together. They shared tender moments with Michaela. There were knowing glances, lingering touches, and more almost conversations than one show should legally be allowed to have. And yet, when the final rolled around, what did we get? A vague hallway scene. A half-hearted acknowledgement that they might be okay. No commitment. No clear direction. Just more of the same emotional limbo that has plagued them since Season 8. NBC, what are we doing here? It's one thing to stretch a relationship arc for dramatic tension. It's another to insult your audience's intelligence by pretending emotional breadcrumbs are enough to sustain us. This is not a case of fans being entitled. We're not demanding fairy tale perfection. We're asking for narrative respect. For Kim Burgess, who has survived PTSD, a kidnapping, a shooting and motherhood under the most traumatic of circumstances, to get more than a vague promise of "we'll see." For Adam Ruzek, who's been shot, estranged and emotionally exiled, to finally find peace in a storyline that doesn't treat him like a convenient fallback. Instead, the show gave them a season finale that felt like a mid-season placeholder. Not a kiss. Not a proposal. Not even a definitive yes, we're together. Just more uncertainty. This would be frustrating enough on its own, but it's particularly galling when juxtaposed against the narrative attention given to other characters. Haley Upton got a send-off, albeit a rushed one. Voight was, once again, central to the arc, dragging us back into the morally gray abyss of his guilt and grief. And even newcomer ASA Chapman got more emotional depth in 3 episodes than Burgess did in an entire season. Where's the balance? Let's also talk about the way Burgess herself was treated. After being front and center in last season's trauma-laced storyline, she's been quietly sidelined into a supporting role. No follow-up on her therapy. No meaningful arc of growth. Just flashes of her old self, mostly through her relationship with Michaela. Burgess deserved better, more than being reduced to Ruzek's maybe girlfriend and Michaela's mom. Her intelligence, Instincts and emotional depth were barely utilized in a final that seemed far more concerned with setting up Voight's next descent than honoring the journey of one of its most resilient characters. And Adam? Ruzek was given a potentially powerful redemption arc, this season after recovering from a near-fatal gunshot wound. We saw him vulnerable, quiet, and reflective. But the finale didn't bother to tap into that growth. No real conversation with Voight. No heart-to-heart with Kim. Just a few scattered moments with Michaela to remind us he's still around. It's like the writers forgot who Ruzek has become and defaulted to writing him as the same uncertain man from 3 seasons ago. The tragedy of Burgess isn't that they're star-crossed. It's that they've already done the work. They've weathered the storm. The foundation is there, but the show seems afraid to build on it. As if happiness for these two might somehow disrupt the gritty tone of the series. But here's a radical idea. Emotional payoff doesn't undermine drama, it enhances it. Letting these characters finally choose each other would have given the show something it sorely lacks: emotional permanence. Instead, NBC and the Chicago PD writers chose the safest, most unfulfilling path. No risks, no reward, just narrative stagnation.